fear was never absent from my life. People like to imagine that I was born fearless, that I walked through the world without doubt, without hesitation, without inner conflict. That is a myth. Fear was always there. It appeared in different forms at different stages of my life. The difference is not that I had no fear. The difference is that I refused to be ruled by it. Fear is natural. Fear is biological. Fear is the body preparing for the unknown. But when fear controls your decisions, it shrinks your life. I learned this early. As a young boy in Hong Kong, I was not confident. I was restless. I was insecure. I fought not because I was brave, but because I was afraid of being seen as weak. Fear wore many masks: anger, rebellion, defiance. I reacted. Instead of choosing, that kind of fear leads to chaos. It was only later that I began to understand fear as something to be observed, not obeyed. When my parents sent me to the United States, fear followed me across the ocean. New country, new language, new culture, no safety net, no familiar ground. I was afraid of failing, afraid of being alone, afraid of not belonging. But I made a decision. Fear would not decide my direction. Every time fear appeared, I moved toward the thing that triggered it. That is how fear loses power. I trained constantly, not only my body, but my mind. I exposed myself to discomfort daily, solitude, silence, physical exhaustion, mental discipline. Fear weakens when it is faced repeatedly. Most people avoid fear. I studied it. In martial arts, fear is the first opponent. Before fists fly, the mind tightens, breath shortens, vision narrows. A fearful fighter reacts late. I learned to relax inside fear. Relaxation is not passivity. It is control. When the body is relaxed, movement is fluid. When the mind is calm, decisions are sharp. That is why I emphasized looseness. Tension is fear made visible. I removed unnecessary tension from my body and unnecessary fear from my mind. When I began teaching martial arts, fear appeared again. Fear of judgment. I challenged tradition. I broke rules. I questioned systems that had existed for generations. People warned me. They said I was risking my reputation. They said I was inviting backlash. They said I should stay quiet. Fear spoke through them. I listened. Then I chose my own path. Fear cannot be eliminated, but courage can be practiced. The famous challenge fight is often spoken about as proof of my confidence. Few people understand the inner experience. Before that fight, fear was present. What if I failed? What if I embarrass myself? What if I prove them right? I did not suppress those thoughts. I acknowledged them. Then I asked myself one question. Would I rather live with the fear of fighting or the fear of running? That question settled everything. Fear of regret is heavier than fear of pain. I entered the fight not fearless, but committed. Commitment dissolves fear. After the fight, fear changed shape again. Now, it was fear of limitation. I realized my conditioning was insufficient. My endurance was lacking. That realization frightened me, but instead of denying it, I used it. Fear became fuel. I rebuilt my training. I strengthened my cardiovascular endurance. I refined efficiency. I simplified movement, fear sharpened. Hollywood brought a new form of fear: rejection. Rejection attacks identity. Every audition, every dismissal, every stereotype whispered the same message: you are not enough. Many talented men surrender here. I did not. Fear told me to compromise. I refused. I chose integrity over comfort. Fear told me to wait. I chose to create. Fear told me to fit in. I chose to stand out. Courage is not loud. It is quiet persistence. I learned that fear often disguises itself as logic. Be realistic. Don't risk too much. Stay where it's safe. These phrases sound wise. They are often fear speaking politely. A warrior learns to distinguish caution from cowardice. I was cautious with my training. I was fearless with my vision. Fear also appeared in success. Success brings expectation. Expectation brings pressure. Pressure creates fear of loss. I guarded against that fear. I reminded myself constantly I am not my reputation. I am my discipline. That mindset kept me grounded. In combat philosophy, I spoke often about adaptability. Adaptability requires fearlessness. You cannot adapt if you cling. You cannot flow if you are afraid to lose form. Be water. Water does not fear losing shape. It becomes what the moment requires. Fear locks you into rigid identity. Fearless men remain fluid. In my private training, I deliberately place myself in uncomfortable situations: extreme fatigue, complex drills, isolation. Why? Because fear grows in comfort. I wanted no illusions. I wanted truth. Fear thrives on imagination. Truth dissolves it. I study philosophy not to escape fear, but to understand impermanence. When you accept impermanence, fear loses its grip. What are you afraid of losing if everything is temporary? This question freed me. I saw fear as a teacher. Every fear pointed toward growth. Fear of failure? Train deeper. Fear of judgment? Strengthen self-trust. Fear of loss? Detach from outcome. That is how fear becomes wisdom. Let me speak to you now. If fear decides your actions, you are not living, you are surviving. If fear keeps you silent, small, or stagnant, it is costing you your life. You do not need to destroy fear. You need to walk with it. Courage is movement despite fear. Train your body, train your breath, train your awareness. Each time you act with fear present, you weaken its hold. I did not become strong by avoiding fear. I became strong by meeting it daily. Now let's close with this. Fear will always knock. Do not build a home for it. Acknowledge it. Learn from it. Move anyway. That is fearlessness. That is the way of the warrior.